Welcome to The Sound, KQAL FM's weekly behind-the-scenes look at Midwestern-made music. From writing and recording to distribution and promotion, The Sound is your source for new releases and exclusive interviews from Midwestern artists. Support for The Sound is made possible by a grant from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Rolling. Tonight on The Sound, we bring you some holiday joy with the latest album from locals H3O Jazz Trio called Combo Carols. Combo Carols consists of 13 original mashups of holiday favorites with jazz standards to get you in the holiday spirit. Bandleader Eric Heukeshoven, otherwise known as Dad to members Max and Hans, has a great story behind the creations of these holiday mashups, but I'll let him tell you about that. And a trio may only have 3 members, but that doesn't mean that the Haukeshovens are the only players on this album. There are appearances by a host of local talent, some of whose names you might recognize, including one Snooky Larson. Wink, wink. Well, enough of my ramblings. Let's get into some holiday mashups, or as I like to call them, future classics. I'm Bill Stoneberg, saying grab a hot beverage and cozy up to the radio like it's 1935 as we bring you H3O Jazz Trio's album Combo Carols tonight on The Sound. That was Bells for Wayne, and that's from H3O Jazz Trio's new holiday album called Combo Carols. And I have Eric Heukeshoven from the band with us tonight. Did I say that right?
Absolutely, man.
Awesome. How you doing today, Eric?
I am great, Bill.
Good.
So thankful to be here.
Oh, I'm glad we finally get to do this, you know. We've been talking about doing it for a little while, a week or so here, but we finally got it together. So this is great. So you've been in here before. You guys, H3O Jazz, your last album, and I don't know if I remember how to say that right.
Jazz.
Oh, Toffel. Okay. Toffel Jazz. Yeah. You guys did an interview for us with that album. And then you were also featured, we did a live recording you guys once.
Right. Down at Blooming Grounds.
At Blooming Grounds. But it's been a while since you've been on the air with us. Yeah. So how have things been going? Catch me up to speed. What's been going on with the band since then?
Well, we're still all in town. My younger son, Max, who's the bass player, is kind of back thinking about law school.
Oh.
And he said, well, what do we do? And I said, well, pick a school close to home. But if you don't, I'll have to hire a bass player, and it won't be quite a family band for a while.
Right.
But for the moment, everybody's here. I also became a grandfather the second time over.
Congrats.
So the drummer's son has a 7-month-old at home, which I'm very mindful of when I schedule our gigs.
Sure.
I try not to get him out too much.
Right.
But we decided, we were talking about what we would do as a follow-up. So Toffel Jazz was this album which was all songs that were written about places, people, things. They all have a story behind them.
Okay.
And the original tunes that I've written over the last 35, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of along those lines, when I taught, when I was the director of jazz at St. Mary's, I would have a beginner's combo every year. And, it was all they could do to learn to improvise over, say, 2 or 3 jazz standards.
Sure.
But we'd come to December, and they'd say, hey, we want to play Christmas music. And I was like, yeah, well, but you're not going to be able to improvise over those changes with the time we have left.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, what if I arranged a Christmas tune or a holiday tune in the style of one of the songs that they had learned?
Right.
And then they would only have to learn the melody. The rhythm players had to learn a little bit different structure, but they did that fine. But then when they got to the solo part, they'd actually go back and play their solos over the actual jazz song.
Okay.
And so I called them combo carols because they were for my combo, but they were also sort of this combination of the, and nowadays I'm told that's a mashup, right? But that's cool. I was ahead of my time, I guess. But
totally.
And so not on the album because of legal reasons. The first one was Little Drummer Boy meets Watermelon Man, Herbie Hancock's Watermelon Man, and that became Funky Drummer Dude.
Oh, cool.
And and then, so that was about 1990, and then it kind of became a challenge every year. Okay, I got to do a new one.
Right.
So I'd make sure I programmed something that I hadn't written one for, and I have 33 or 34 of them in the catalog now. And not all of them are gems, but there's enough, and there's probably enough to do a second album.
Nice.
And so when we were talking about it, I don't remember who said it, but they said, well, Christmas albums, everybody likes a Christmas album. I said, yeah, we could do those. And so we had hoped to go in May and record, and I kind of sat on things and didn't book the studio time. And when I went to book, and it was a friend of mine who owns the studio, he said no. So then I was gone part of the summer. And so we didn't really start the project till early September.
Really?
And unlike the first album, which was everybody in the room playing at the same time, I have a second part of this project next year that I hope to publish the actual charts since they're all done. I've had people ask me about them, and I said, well, yeah, that'd be great, but we need backing tracks. So what you're hearing is actually about a combination of 5 different sessions.
Okay.
We recorded all the piano, bass, and drums first so that we can come back to those next year and just have those tracks separate for people to play along with. And then we recorded the horns, and poor Hans, of course, he's drummer and vibraphone player. And so we actually brought his vibraphone over to a storage room at Central Lutheran Church where I work, where there was no fan noise and it was completely dead, and we recorded his vibraphone tracks there.
Wow. And
some of my solos that are, because I was playing piano, I was what we in jazz we call it comping. so I couldn't really add another piano solo on top of the piano. So you'll hear me playing synthesizer, you'll hear me playing Hammond organ. And on one cut, I see you've got it on there, Swingin' Kings. There's a cameo appearance by a valve trombone player named Snooky Larson. Well, I'm Snooky Larson.
Okay.
Truth be told. But I didn't want...
The truth is out.
I didn't want my playing to be confused with the great John Sievers, who plays trombone on a bunch of the other cuts.
Okay.
And so that's sort of, when I send out test emails, I always send one to Snooky. And so Snooky made it onto the album.
Nice. Finally.
And it was really, but you listen to the end product, and it's seamless. And my dear friend Brett Hoos from Sound Stations in La Crosse just did the miracle worker. Great mixing, everything comes together. And so next year when we do the play along tracks, what we'll do is we'll have two separate recordings. We'll have one that's just piano, bass, and drums for the whole thing, and we'll have a second one that has the melody on the front and the back, so that they can learn to play along with that too. So, and the jazz tune really always informed what the Christmas tune or the holiday tune would sound like.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So I try to pick up as many elements of the jazz tune in the carol itself, and some of them are really obvious, and some of them are a little bit more obtuse. And I suppose you got to be kind of digging into the jazz scene to know what's what.
What's what? Yeah.
But they're still fun, even if you don't know what the originals were.
Definitely. And that's interesting that you say that, because I was wondering about like this first tune that we heard, Bells for Wayne.
So the titles are a hint.
Right, the title's a hint, but I couldn't place what the what it's matched up with.
So the tune is Carol of the Bells,
right?
And Wayne Shorter is the composer in question, and he wrote a standard that we use a lot for teaching called Footprints.
Okay,
which is, it has that opening bass hook that's just
awesome.
Obvious, and I looked for those oftentimes, saying, okay, the same one with Song for Gentlefolk, which steals from Song for My Father by Horace Silver.
Okay.
That opening bass riff is very... Actually, that bass riff was also stolen by Steely Dan for Ricky Don't Lose That Number.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
And actually, Fagan, I think, finally admitted that he did steal it. but yeah.
It always takes him a while.
Yeah. Just don't tell,
Right?
It's an homage, right?
See, exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly. Oh, I absolutely love it. I love that. And then I was going to... It's funny that you mentioned the keys, playing the piano and then playing synth and stuff over it so that you're not overlapping, because I was curious about that. There's that's actually in the next song that we're going to play.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe we should do that. Let's go. We'll play some more tunes for folks, and then we'll come back and talk some more. Because there's a part in this next song, a keyboard part. I think it's a keyboard. Sometimes I get it wrong. Especially you mentioned vibes before.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get those confused.
Well, nowadays with wind synth and things like that too, you can have a wind player playing a synthesizer.
Oh, that's true. So exactly.
The great Ray Dretsky here in town. He does.
Yeah. There you go. Well, let's do it. We're gonna play some tunes, and we'll be back to talk. I'm here with. Let's see if I can get this right. I'm here with Eric Heukeshoven.
Perfect.
Nice. And he's from H3O Jazz Trio. And it's a family affair, but we've got some extra people this time.
It's H3O and friends. And sometimes we also, if my wife Janet plays, we call it H3O plus mom.
Oh, I love that. I love
and
it.
she's on the album too.
Oh, cool. Very cool. So H3O Jazz Trio. The album is called Combo Carols, and we're going to play some more tunes from that for you. This next one is Blue Angels, and you're listening to it on The Sound right here on 89.5 KQAL. That was Cold Duck Mountain Time, and that's by H3O Jazz Trio. That's off their new holiday album, Combo Carols. And I have Eric Heukeshoven in the studio with me today, and we're going through and talking about some of the tunes. And before Cold Duck, we heard Blue Angels. So, Eric, we were kind of talking going into Blue Angels about the keyboard part.
The multi-tracking.
You know, the multi-tracking and having, you know, playing multiple things on the album and stuff like that. And that keyboard part really caught my ear for some reason. And I guess basically for the reason we were kind of talking about before. I'm not sure if we talked about it before the mics were on or off, but about how any instrument can become a synth these days.
Absolutely.
So I wasn't sure. I wanted to ask you about it.
That was me.
That was you, and it is a keyboard.
That was me in my basement in the studio at home. So, yeah, when we talked about this and having... So basically, you know, on all the backing tracks, if we'll call them that, I'm playing chords the whole time.
Okay.
And so to add a piano solo just sounded fake. It sounded wrong.
Oh, sure.
And it was actually John Paulson. We were in the studio when we were recording the horns, and John said, "Well, geez, just do your thing with your synthesizer and the organ and that kind of stuff." And I said, "That's a great idea."
Nice.
So we had. You know, I had the raw tracks, and I knew we had a chart of, you know, who was soloing on which choruses, and I think in that case I already knew who was ahead of me, and I was able to kind of dovetail into what they did. So that's, I think, one of the reasons the album comes off as not sounding like it was done in chunks, which it was. And I love, it's sort of if you're familiar with the old, you know, Emerson, Lake and Palmer days, that the whole kind of the organic analog sound of the Moog synthesizers.
Oh.
And it just seemed to fit that. I used it on 2 or 3 of the takes. And I actually found a sound that I loved on an old keyboard that I had, which it's not analog, but it sounds like it. And I plugged the keyboard into my... audio interface, and there was just huge amounts of noise, and I was like, oh crap, I can't use this. And then the little voice in my head says, well, you can still put a microphone on it, you dummy. So it's actually
forget that.
It is sort of analog because it's coming out of the speakers, and it's not directly out of the thing. The organ cuts, those are actually from not a real organ. It's actually out of it's a synthesizer patch.
Oh, okay, sure.
And then, but that was really fun. And when I went back and listened to it, I think I liked it more when it had a little bit of the room noise in it and stuff that, you know, kind of just made it sound more authentic.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I think it sounds great. I totally thought you were going to say that it was a real organ.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
It's a really good setup software.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good. And then I don't remember if we were talking about this while the tunes were playing or when we turned the mics back on, but Cold Duck Mountain.
Yeah.
So you said Cold Duck Time.
Cold Duck Time is a tune by Eddie Harris from the late 60s. It's just it's kind of that jazz rock fusion kind of thing.
Sure.
Eddie Harris claims he was the inventor of the electric sax.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which basically he put a mic on his sax and he played it through effects boxes and things like that.
Oh,
it's
sure.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's a funny story about Cold Duck Mountain Time. So the Cold Duck Time is the tune, and Go Tell It on the Mountain is the Christmas tune.
Ah, there it is. Okay.
That was a year that my entire beginner workshop combo was made up of St. Mary's seminarians.
Oh, wow.
And they were great kids, and there's like 8 or 9 of them. And so I had all sorts of horns, and so I was able to write harmony parts for them.
Cool.
And that was one that when we started talking about this project, and I knew that I'd have flute, tenor sax, trombone for instruments, that I said, well, we have to do this one because I've already got the harmony fleshed out, and it was just a fun one. And sometimes you just they were just sort of the old thing about, right, the sculptor chisels until, that's kind of the way these sometimes work. I just look at the tune and say, oh, well, if I use that ba-do-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, instead of ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, and then just back and forth with the song until you find, you kind of chisel out where the Christmas song fits in.
Right. Oh, that's great. I love where you're going with this because that's actually the next thing I was going to ask about was how do you said, mashups, right?
Right. Yeah.
In my notes, I just called it arrangements because I didn't realize how far how true you stick to either song or tune.
And some are more literal than others.
Right.
I believe Song for Gentlefolk, one year I had a vocalist.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
I realized, the words actually fit, the whole tune.
Nice.
So that's God Rest You Merry Gentlemen and Song for My Father. And it's done as a kind of a Latin rock or bossa nova kind of feel.
Cool.
But other ones, the melody becomes a lot more hinted at versus literal.
Yeah, and how do you decide what tunes to marry together?
Yeah, well, a lot of times it was what I was teaching. So
okay.
Some of the tunes that are on the album, Swinging Kings uses Summertime,
right?
And that's a real standard. What's Blue Angels that we just played, which is really a funny one. There's a really good tune for kind of teaching a little more advanced improv is a tune by Kenny Dorham called Blue Bossa.
Okay.
I mean, I think every combo in the world plays Blue Bossa.
Right.
And it's Angels We Have Heard on High, but that's a strange one because Blue Bossa is in a minor key, and Angels We've Heard on High is in a major key. So you've actually got a major melody sitting on top of a minor harmony.
Oh, interesting.
And you can hear it, and then I changed the rhythm to try. I would oftentimes sit with the two pieces of music, and I would look at the rhythm of the jazz tune and say, okay, how do I adapt that to the Christmas tune?
Right.
And so a lot of times, and I'd be just sitting at the keyboard, noodling and trying to figure that out. The harmonies oftentimes were as close as I could get to those original harmonies.
Sure. But sometimes using the Christmas Carol melody or something?
Always using the Christmas Carol
melody. Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
So the idea is you play the Christmas melody, we call it the head.
Okay.
So we call it the in head is the beginning, the out head is at the end.
Okay, sure.
So we have the Christmas melody is like the bookends, and then the improv in the middle is still back to the original jazz tune.
Oh, cool.
And sometimes my students would actually play the original jazz tune. We couldn't do that on the album without paying mechanical rights.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that's the trick there. Yeah.
Right. Wow. I'm just fascinated by the process. I think it's really cool, really interesting.
It's a lot of fun. And I wrote a new one this year, which isn't on the album. It's John Coltrane's Bessie's Blue.
Oh, wow.
Bessie's Blues. Say that fast 10 times.
Right.
And the Christmas tune is When Christmas Day is Dawning, which I'm starting to really dig for carols because I've used so many of the common ones.
Right.
And my colleague who's on the album, John Sievers, and I, we played a casual gig last Saturday morning in Rochester at a farmer's market, indoors, thankfully.
Right.
And so we were just reading through the book because they wanted Christmas songs, of course. And I said, really? Before Thanksgiving? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And we played through that one, and he was like, wow, I don't know the Christmas song or the jazz tune. And I said, really? You never played Bessie's Blues? And he goes, no.
Oh, wow.
And I said, okay, well, there you go. I'm glad I was able to introduce you to it.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. That is great.
Yeah.
Is this more difficult, or how does this compare to I'm going to try to not butcher it again. Tafel jazz?
Tafel. So Tafel jazz. So let me tell you where that comes from. So I'm a German American.
Okay.
My father was born and raised in Germany.
Okay.
And most of my family is there, except for here in Winona.
Right.
But anyway, Tafelmusik in German, it's an old term from the Baroque, and it means music for the table, or literally music for an occasion.
Ah,
And so
interesting.
And so we took the music off, and called it Toffel Jazz, because all the songs on that album, one was written for a celebrity's wedding. I don't ask how, but I ended up playing for Norm Abrams' wedding in Boston.
Oh, wow.
From this old house.
Interesting.
And so this old blues was written for him and his wife. And Jig and Swing was written for a friend.
This old blues?
This old blues,
nice.
Yeah. And it
I
quotes,
love it.
"Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home."
Oh my God,
in
cool.
the hook. Jig and Swing was written for my friend's mom's 90th birthday. She was Irish, and it's sort of it starts with a jig and then it goes into a blues. And so those are all originals, and which one's more difficult? Is that the question?
Well, or what's
what's more challenging?
How does this compare?
I think the Christmas carols are more challenging because, and I told I've said this to my composition students for years. The more constraints you have, the easier it is to write.
Oh, right. I would agree.
Because then you're not just going wild with imagination and saying, "Well, I'm going to write for 43 kazoos and an accordion."
Right.
You
have some lines to color inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think the Christmas carols really make me have to focus. And I there's 3 or 4 other tunes that just float around in my head every now and then. In fact, my wife was asking me about this just the other day. And I said, I think there's one in for this and that and the other thing. They just haven't revealed themselves to me yet.
Ah, right.
Know, and it's weird because they don't always happen at Christmas. I think I've written them in June. I've written them in August or January. I saw one from I think First Reflection, which is we're not playing it today, but that was written last January, this year, I think in January.
Oh, wow.
So it was relatively new.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. You mentioned your composition class too. Do you ever show these mashup arrangements to them to talk about composition?
I never did. Usually composition was like a one-on-one thing. Although I did teach arranging for a long time, and this probably would have been a good exercise for that. Yeah. I never dragged them out until towards the end of the semester, so it was probably just not top of mind.
Sure. Well, I'm just curious. I'm thinking now, I wonder what they would do with them. Give them a couple things to mash up and see what they do.
Absolutely.
Or,
say here, or find 2 that you think will work.
Right. And try.
I'd love that. It would be a great challenge.
Well, there you go. Maybe you can do that. Cool. How about, I want to go back a little bit before we should get into some more tunes here, but I also am curious, solos, all this, how do you decide what instrument's going to take a solo and when? How do you place those?
Well, I tried to being German, I tend to be very organized.
Right.
At least in this. My house would never agree with that, but
it's a working space.
It is right.
Yeah.
A messy home is a busy mind, whatever that is.
Something like that. Right?
So I really wanted to be have as much equity for the different soloists throughout this as I could. So John Paulson, who's on flute and sax, actually he's on soprano sax, tenor sax, and flute on various cuts. I think he's on 5 or 6, and my wife Janet is on 5, and Sievers, the trombone player, is on 5 or 6, and then the boys and I have 4 that are kind of just our own, that are more just one's just alone with the trio, and it was a little bit about I knew, for instance, we do these, not just when I was teaching, but we would do them out when we were
live
playing
and stuff.
Yeah, they're great because they're not the standard Christmas stuff.
Right.
And
it's fun.
A lot of people probably scratched their heads and said, "Well, why don't you play some Christmas songs?" We just did. You just didn't hear it. So I knew, for instance, that, and some of it has to do with range of the instruments. So St. Kinder, I think, is on your list.
Yep.
That one just works perfectly for flute. Oh. And I added a little bit of a steel drum patch on that one. Yeah. And it in the original mix, the steel drums were way too heavy, and they literally are out of tune.
Oh, no.
And my wife kept saying, you're really making me sound bad on this one.
Oh, no.
And it was like, okay, we'll bring it way, way down. We'll be in the background. And it is now, so it was fine. Cool. But so I think, some of the songs determined the range. Some of it was I knew the players were more familiar with certain tunes than others. And then I just tried to make it as even-handed that everybody kind of has the same representation.
Cool. Oh my God, there's so much to it. I just love it.
It's fun.
Well, let's get into some more tunes. We'll play some tunes for people, and then we'll come back and talk some more. I'm here talking to Eric Heukeshoven, and he's in H3O Jazz Trio. They have a new album out that's a holiday album, Combo Carols, so we're playing through some tunes from that. This next one here is Good King Brownie, and you're listening to it on The Sound on 89.5 KQAL. My Little Mary Shoes from H3O Jazz Trio. And before that, we heard Good King Brownie. And I have Eric Heukeshoven in the studio with us tonight to talk about these tunes in the album. Eric, so, I mean, we were talking, oh my God, we've been kind of all over the map here a little bit. But you did mention your recording process a little early on, and it sounds like this was recorded in different places at different times. Possibly on different equipment.
Well, yeah. So all the rhythm tracks were done actually we did them all in one day, which was quite a marathon.
Oh, cool. Oh yeah, I bet. There's 12 tunes.
So in order to do this, you have to have what we call a click track. Mm-hmm. And so basically you've got this metronome banging in your ear while you're playing, and nothing makes you more humble than knowing that you cannot get off, Right. And it's a stress test, I think, to the end. Yeah. But and we all knew when we had a good take. I mean, it was like that was with the boys and I, and it was like, okay, what do you think? No, I screwed up. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, we'll do it again. Right. And I was like, we're not going to do any more than 5 takes because we'll run out of time. I think the majority, usually the second one or sometimes the first one were the best. Right. And we try to go back and clean up. And we did very, very little in terms of, fixing things digitally. There was a couple of notes actually that everything else in the take was perfect, and I said we can fix that. So we and those mostly were in the solo and the instruments. Mm-hmm.
And just to clarify for folks in this day and age, when you're saying fix, you're probably talking about going back and just like punching in to re-record that part?
Either punching in or literally just copying the note from another spot.
Just move the note a little bit. Oh, copy and paste. There you go.
I'm old enough to have edited with tape.
Tape, right? And I've got a splicing block.
There you
up
go.
There.
I saw it. And
I remember doing that.
And when I taught music industry, I used to say, you just don't even have a clue.
Right.
I should make you do this once just to, Well, and we didn't even have a tape deck anymore.
Yeah.
So.
It makes you commit when the process is slicing that tape physically. You
Very
commit.
True.
You don't take that decision as lightly as like, oh, I can always just press undo.
No, we did a few punch-ins, and the most punch-ins we did were on purpose because Max, the bass player, my son Max, has solos in various of these tunes, and because of the backing tracks, his bass line was running throughout the whole thing.
Oh, sure.
So we had to take that chorus of the solo out and have him. And so what he was doing, and I actually wasn't at that session that day, but he would play along. He'd be in time, and then he knew where his solo would start, and we would, and then in post we would take out the walking part or whatever it was, and put his solo in. And again, I listen to it now, and I'm like, yeah. That sounds normal.
It sounds natural.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad. And that's, and I think part of that is, if you do, like you did the basic tracks live together, the three of you. So I think that helps that feel a lot.
It did. Because we still felt really good about that. And so when we were listening, like when we did the off-site recordings with the vibraphones and when I did the keyboard tracks, they came with the click right on the on the recording, and then I just recorded a separate track. And the beauty of it is if you start and finish at the same time, it still syncs up when you put it back into the master.
Oh, sure, right, yep.
And it's just a matter of they line up. And so there wasn't any synchronization problems at all.
Cool. Do you ever? Because I mean, you've kind of arranged these tunes well in advance because they're picking from a list that you have, But do they ever change once you start laying them? When you start laying these down, do they?
That's funny.
Evolve?
I did actually change 2 this year.
Oh, cool.
Before I did the recording, I think Swinging Kings is the one on the way out.
Nice.
I had a vamp in there at the beginning. A vamp is just, repeating a couple of chords as, vamp till ready, right?
Right.
And the old theatrical thing. And I was like, I don't need that. that might work in a casual setting where we're just kind of laying things out, waiting for people, but it didn't work on the album. And when I changed it in the beginning, it also changed it at the end of the phrase, and I tightened it up basically.
Wow, cool.
And then I think I also wrote. I don't think I had harmony for a couple of pieces, and so I wrote a harmony part. I'm trying to think of the one that has tenor sax and flute, and it's eluding me at the moment. And so, it was Preacher Bells, and which is Horace Silver's The Preacher and Jingle Bells.
Okay, sure.
And if you can't tell, I like Horace Silver because he's on there twice. He's one of my all-time favorite jazz composers and pianists, and I got to meet him once, and he was just like the coolest guy ever. I sat and chatted with him for like 15 minutes, and it's just life-changing, right?
Cool.
Meet your hero, and he actually was a guy.
Right? Isn't that nice?
Yeah. But so things like that where I think I adjusted, but I did literally change one of the arrangements. And I've done that with some of the other ones. Over time, I'm like, I go back and say, it's not tight enough, or that's redundant. I don't need to do that again. And I think the one I mentioned in the beginning, Funky Drummer Dude, I think that's been revised like 3 times.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
It's just, it's death by tweaking, right?
Well,
it's nice to have that opportunity, though, over time.
It is.
To come back and say, oh, yeah, this would be better if it wasn't this way.
Well, that's just it. We change throughout time, right? Everything changes and evolves. I'm going to quote Mr. Charlie Parr here from Minnesota.
Yes.
He told me one time, I asked him about, why does this tune has appeared on several albums already, and now you've released it again. Why? And he said, well, it's not done. He said, when I consider a tune done, then I stop playing it. I stop playing it live. I'm like, wow, interesting. So it's a journey until you find it, and then it's put it on the shelf. So I thought that was an interesting take.
That's very cool.
So you're not alone in this. That's I think it's good to revise and revisit.
He just got a big award, didn't he?
Yeah, he just got something. What was it?
Entertainer of the Year for something.
Yeah. I don't remember the organization, but yeah. Very cool. Do you have any? I heard you mention something about recording vibes in a closet or something.
So,
are there any fun stories like that?
I mentioned at the top of the show that I have a 7-month-old granddaughter,
right?
Whose father is the vibraphonist and drummer,
right?
And so, first of all, I said we don't. If you haven't seen the vibraphone, it's a big instrument. It's it's a fair amount of setup and teardown. So I said, we can't do it at your house because you have a 4-year-old and you have a baby.
Right.
And there's just no place in your house to do that. My day job these days is I'm the director of worship, music, and arts at Central Lutheran.
Oh, cool.
Right here by campus. And I said, well, there's got to be a space, and fortunately he lives here in town, so it was easy for him to come over. And so we did it when I think he got his kids to bed, and we started at like 7:30. And I was walking all over the church looking for. At first, I thought, well, I'll do it in the sanctuary. No, I don't want to do it there because I don't want. When we recorded in the studio down in La Crosse, it's very dead.
Okay,
and everything,
sure.
The reverb is all added in post.
Oh God, if you're in a sanctuary, you're gonna have.
Yeah, that was going to be a no. That's a no go.
Right,
and also, it's on Huff Street, and you get cars going by.
Oh, sure.
Everything else. So I'm walking around. I'm thinking, oh well, one of the classrooms downstairs, they all had. It's by this time, it's the heat is on. Or air conditioning or something, but
whatever
the blowers, and I could hear noise.
Yep.
So I found this storage room where I keep my 2 timpani.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, there's no fan in this room.
Right.
It's away from the street, and it was literally just big enough to get the vibes and 2 microphones and my computer into the room. and so it was the dumbest of all possible solutions, and yet when I took the tracks to Brett in La Crosse, he's going, "Oh, that's perfect." He says it's flat. I can do everything with it. It'll sound just like we did it here, and so it was well past 10:30, almost 11 o'clock before we finished, and I apologized to him because I know he gets up early with the kids,
right?
So everybody sacrificed for that one, but it was the right room in the end.
Right. That is great. So did you track everything on a laptop? It sounds like. Or?
I did.
Okay.
The things. Sorry.
Like kind of the overdub stuff after the bass.
So the horns were recorded in the studio.
In the studio, okay.
And so just the vibraphone solos, all the vibraphone tracks, and then the keyboard, the synth, the organ, and then the one trombone. Snooky's solo,
part, right?
Snooky's solo on Swingin' Kings. Those were done on my laptop.
Okay, wow. And then the rest was done in Sound Striations and lacrosse?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
With because we can give him a shout out because that was Brett
Hoos.
Brett Hoos, yeah.
Yeah. Brett was my upper division music industry teacher at St. Mary's for many years. And
cool.
Shameless plug, he has 2 Grammys for post-production.
Oh, awesome.
And he poo-poos it. He says, well, it's for this niche market. I go, Brett, a Grammy is a Grammy is a Grammy.
Right. Exactly.
Thank you, my friend.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Wow. I absolutely love that. Well, let's go. Let's play some more tunes.
Yeah.
Let's play a couple more tracks. We're going to play one and then we'll come back and talk some more. I'm here with Eric Heukeshoven, and he's from H3O Jazz Trio. The album's called Combo Carols. We're playing through it. It's really fun versions, you might say, or mashups, include Christmas carols or holiday carols. And this next one is called St. Kinder, and that's from the H3O Jazz Trio right here on 89.5 KQAL. That was St. Kinder, and that's from H3O Jazz Trio's new album called Combo Carols. It's a holiday album that includes kind of new arrangements or mashups, one might say, of classic holiday tunes combined with classic jazz tunes. Super cool. You mentioned flute before, and I was curious about that. Like, where was the flute recorded? We just talked about a little bit about,
Sure.
where things were recorded. And Yeah, I really dig the flute in this one. The flute and this one has a steel drum too. But.
That's my wife, so she'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Janet is interesting. You know, she was trained as a classical flutist. Her master's degree is in flute performance from Boston Conservatory. And it took her, I mean, she's always loved jazz and come to, you know, so many performances over our 48 plus years together.
Congrats.
Thank you. Oh, it's just more like 50 together, but who's counting, right?
Right.
But about 7 or 8 years ago, Janet said, I think I need to learn how to improvise. And so she has come a long way. It's, you know, when you're trained to play the notes on the page, and to step away from that is really a challenge.
Yeah.
I get it. And so that particular song, I just so that's "O Come Little Children" and Sonny Rollins' tune called "St. Thomas."
Oh, cool.
And that's actually one of the two on the album where the jazz tune and the Christmas song actually have the same number of measures and basically the same chord structure.
Oh, wow.
That happens rarely, but Preacher Bells is the other one.
Cool.
And that's Jingle Bells. And so the steel drum, because the St. Thomas tune is definitely a calypso beat. And I have a friend here in town, Jeff Strom, who I think plays with the Jazz Collective, the thing they do down at Ed's on Wednesdays.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And Jeff actually has steel drums.
Oh, cool.
And so I called him and I said, I want to make sure that I'm not going like, you know, on a synthesizer, you have infinite range, you know, as much as the piano will allow, 88 notes. And I said, but I know that you're probably clustered into like an octave or two. So I said, is this okay? And he said, yeah. So I mean, I was trying to, even though it's me and it's not a real steel drummer, I was trying to make it as close to the original, the real thing as I could.
Oh, wow. So that's played on the keyboard?
Yeah.
The steel drums?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't know that either.
Well, you know, it's all an illusion.
Interesting, right? Yeah.
You don't believe everything you hear.
Wow. That's cool. That's interesting. Yeah, I just love it. And there's so many interesting things like that. And you know, like we were talking before, you know, this is an hour-ish kind of show, you know, so we can only fit so much music. But there's 12 tracks in this album. So there's
13.
A lot of 13.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, math is not my strong point today.
There were 12 on Toffle Jazz.
Oh, okay.
That might be weird.
Maybe I got confused because I was looking at that earlier. So it's out right now, out and available. Streaming platforms? Is it on streaming platforms?
All major streaming platforms.
Okay, cool. And you have CDs, right?
We have CDs, and they're available through the website, h3ojazz.com.
Okay.
Or come to a gig.
Yes.
Shout out for Two Fathoms Brewing. They continue to support our monthly jazz jams on the third Sunday of every month from 2:30 to 5:30. We just we turned that into a fundraiser about 4 years ago, and I just before coming over here, I gave the student chapter of the American Choral Directors Association a little over $800.
Nice.
From our last one 2 weeks
cool.
ago. And that was also the release party. It was kind of a chaotic day.
Oh, I bet. I wanted to make it down there, but did not. I did not make
well,
it.
we're there every month.
Yeah, you guys are there a lot, and I love that you do the charity stuff too.
Yeah, well, you know it just seemed like the right thing to do, and yeah, we'll probably cap 75,000 at the end of this year.
Oh, so cool! That is super awesome.
Very humbling.
That is awesome. Yeah, isn't it? And then you had mentioned too that you know in the recording process, and I know we're running a little long. We're almost done here, but I'm really curious about this. You mentioned doing the backing tracks in the recording process, and something about so people can play it over it later. So there's an educational component to this as well.
My goal next year is to, I mean, I have all of these arrangements and they're pretty much written for all the instruments because over the years I would have a flute player, a French horn player, you know, a bari sax, a tenor sax. And so I've had friends who kind of know this book say, oh, you know, I'd like some of those for my combo. Okay. So I'll more than likely, don't know that I have a publisher who would take it, but I'll certainly self-publish them. But nowadays, if you don't have these play-along tracks, they don't sell very well.
Right.
And I've used them myself in teaching. It's really, really helpful for the student to have like this professional sounding backing track, and for the teacher saying, if you're teaching it to a combo, say, well, here's what, here's the tempo, here's how the chord structure sounds. And one of the books that I use quite often, it comes with, as I said before, two different examples. One has the melody on the outside, in the beginning and the end, so they can hear the melody, and then leaves the solo sections just open.
Right.
And the second one is like, no, you just play everything. Play the melody.
Okay,
and
cool.
It'll just be the back, just the rhythm. And so, yeah, it was kind of, I've wanted to publish them for a long time. And I approached one publisher a few years ago, and he was like, yeah, they're really cool, but they don't fit our catalog. And I said, okay. And I did have just a conversation yesterday with a friend who was telling me about a publisher in Canada that maybe interested. So we'll see.
Yeah.
These days, self-publishing is pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And places like J.W. Pepper actually have this thing where you can publish your own scores and set your price, and then they'll be the distributor.
Oh, cool.
So that might work too.
Yeah, that might be a good option.
I'm also waiting to hear on a state arts board grant that if I get it, that might delay this project a little bit because I'd have to do that first next year.
Right. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Right.
But it's ready. It's in the the recordings are done, and I know they'll be there. In fact, Brett and I are meeting for lunch this week to just say, okay, back that up twice, will you?
Right.
Don't lose those.
Right.
Files.
Don't lose those for sure. Well, what's next on the horizon for H3O Jazz Trio?
Well, we have another year of jazz jams booked.
Nice.
I was kind of shocked by mid-year 25. All 12 of our fundraising slots had been taken up.
Wow.
And I've got the list started for 27.
Oh, cool.
And I guess it only took me 8 years to be an overnight success, but or it's not like 40 years, but for us, and I think that keeps us. It's nice to have that. We were in Owatonna on Saturday at the History Center there. We do a thing called Jazz in the Patio every year. We've done for about 10 years.
Cool.
And when I mentioned when we were there last summer, I mentioned we were going into the studio, and the director came up afterwards and said, "Well, you're coming back here for a release party." And I said, yeah, "Okay.
Oh wow,
we'd love that." And it's a bit of a hike, and I think my sons grumble a little bit, and I go, but they really like you, and don't turn that down.
Yeah.
And we have just some other things. We also, I think we just got confirmation that our Unwind Fridays, which is what Giovanni recorded a couple years ago.
Oh, sure, Blooming Grounds.
Down at Blooming Grounds is coming back next year. So we'll be there like on the last Friday of the month.
Cool.
But as I said, I'm mindful of having a son with small children and one that might be going back to school, and
right?
Yeah, we'll take the gigs when they come, though.
Yeah,
So
too. Very cool. And that reminded me, you mentioned Owatonna. That's where Giovanni's from. That reminded me.
Okay.
So next time you're up there, I'll shoot him an email.
Yeah, please.
Because he would love to come
June
on.
28th.
Oh, okay.
I happen to remember that
go.
because we were having a discussion about they had the wrong date down because it was our jazz jam, which is the 21st next year.
Sure.
And I said, no, we can't do that.
Well, I just wrote it down, June 28th, Owatonna. So
there you go.
I'll send him an email.
Right.
Well, thanks so much for coming in and talking with us.
Bill. It's been a pleasure.
Where can people find out about show dates and stuff like that?
Our website has the calendar.
Okay.
So h3ojazz.com, and just click on the calendar tab at the top.
Okay.
And it's as up to date as I can keep it. Usually, I think it's pretty up to date.
Yeah. Cool.
It's really it's really a joy. I mean, somebody said, you have a real true family band, and did you plan it that way? I said, not at all.
Right.
We played a casual gig when Max was like 14.
Yeah.
And I think he had a little like 3/4 size upright bass at the time.
Oh, wow.
And it worked, and I said, this is fun, and then things kind of developed from there. And it's funny because I think some of the very first gigs we played were fundraisers for the Masato, the city, the Winona International Friendship Association.
Yeah.
Max actually was on the trip as a student.
Oh, cool.
And then I went for their 20th anniversary. They called the city apparently and said they wanted a jazz band and a basketball team to come and play. And I said, well, I could do the jazz part.
Right.
And so, I got to meet those people, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Cool.
And we used to do fundraisers for them before we even had the Jazz Jam going. So, yeah, next year will be 8 years for the Jazz Jam. And,
Wow.
And I love the fact that because we're sponsoring these different groups every month, you see a different clientele coming in. Mm-hmm. People that I think there's people who still go, what? There's a brewery? What?
Right.
Yeah, it's where Zach's used to be or Jefferson's used to be.
Right.
It's right next door. Now we can say it's next door to the new hotel. So,
there you go. Yeah. Big landmark.
But yeah, so we're going to enjoy the holidays together, and I won't force anybody to play the album while we're at family houses or something. If you want to play it, you can.
Yeah, or you can call into KQL and request
There we
it.
go.
There you go.
There we go. I'll do that.
There you go. Cool. Well, thank you so much. We're going to go out with a tune here. I've been talking to Eric Heukeshoven from H3O Jazz Trio. They have a new holiday album out, which is exciting. It's called Combo Carols. And go to their website. It's h3ojazz.com for more information on that. And this last tune from it is Swingin' Kings. And you're listening to it on the Sound right here on 89.5 KQAL.
Thanks again to H3O Jazz Trio for joining us tonight on The Sound. To hear more from the band, just go to h3ojazz.com. For more deep dives into local and regional albums, tune into The Sound every Wednesday night at 6, right here on 89.5 KQAL. You can also listen to past episodes on The Sound on your favorite streaming services. Find links at kqal.org. I'm Bill Stoneberg, and we've just heard from Winona's own H3O Jazz Trio, tonight on The Sound. Thanks for listening to The Sound. The Sound is produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us online at kqal.org. Theme music for The Sound provided by Mike Terrell of Fires of Denmark.